Hi, I'm Ed Marsh. Welcome to this episode of Signals from the OP. My bi-weekly videos are intended to be thought-provoking for industrial manufacturing company execs. If you know of one who you think might find some value, then please share it with them. Today, let's talk about that deadly competitor, the status quo. You know, that long-standing and intimidating barrier to your sales team's success. After all, you've got great solutions and products and loyal customers. It sometimes feels like the only thing standing between you and huge sales success is customers' aversion to change. And so the status quo prevails in many cases. Now, you've probably trained your team rigorously in overcoming the status quo. You've helped them learn how to identify and fully develop pain. You've got sales enablement tools like case studies and ROI calculators that help them to develop and quantify the cost of doing nothing. And it works. You know it does because often in the sales process, prospects tell your team something along the lines of, "Yeah, I agree. We need to change. Let me get this process going internally so we can move ahead with you." And everybody on the team high fives. The sales methodology worked. You've won a deal, you've got a verbal commitment, and now the only steps left are dotting the I's and crossing the T's, as we say. But a nagging voice says, "You've seen this movie countless times, so you know what happens next." Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Sure, they may ask for revised quotes or more references or another case study or another pilot or a new demo. You're going through steps that feel like maybe they're a bit excessive, but they're reasonable in the context of actually getting a contract for some expensive, complex machinery. But eventually you start to get worried. The deal's always supposed to be wrapped up next week, then next month, and then next quarter. It's gonna happen, rest assured. There's just a few details left to address. It seems reasonable and it makes sense, until it doesn't. And so you bring your team together, you huddle up, you review the justification, you come up with a plan to review and reiterate the cost of inaction and justification for the deal with the buyer. That's the same buyer, of course, who already told you that she or he agreed and was ready to move forward. And this second pass at developing the pain doesn't help. Time continues to pass, no signed agreement results. The deal dies right on the 1-yard line. How do you track that in your CRM, in your pipeline? Closed lost? But nobody got the order. Closed dead? Stagnant? How long do you allow a deal to sit in your pipeline and distort your forecast until you kill it for cause? And most importantly, did you really lose to the status quo? Certainly the status quo prevailed, but did it win? The short answer, according to new research from DCM Insights, is probably not. In his new book, The Jolt Effect, Matt Dixon, who you may know from Challenger Sale, argues that deals like this are lost to customer indecision. Buyers are more afraid of messing up than they are of missing out. Let me say that again. They're more afraid of messing up than of missing out. In other words, it's not the status quo or missing out, but it's the fear of making a mistake, the messing up, that holds them back. And this is true for many reasons. You've probably heard about Daniel Kahneman's research into behavioral economics. People feel the pain of loss and mistakes much more acutely than they feel the gain of a win. And this relates to the omission bias, which basically means that we feel the pain of a mistake, making the wrong choice, much more strongly than we do feel the pain of missing an opportunity or making no choice. Everyone sees the former. They see how we screwed up. But often nobody sees the latter. And after all, we're told that we need to focus on a few priorities. And so that provides an easy justification to ignore the problem and avoid making a decision about a solution. It also happens because people might have made mistakes in the past and worry that this project might blow up too. Or because there's such an overwhelming number of options that they don't know how to choose from them. Or even because they worry that with all the information they don't have quite enough to make an informed choice. And in each case they become a bit more indecisive. Now here's the real kicker. According to Dixon's research, when buyers verbalize an intention to buy, a full 70% of the time the end result is inaction. And even worse, going back to the playbook that we've all refined to beat the status quo makes it even worse. So your sales team needs some additional tools that get incorporated into your sales methodology and some new qualification checkpoints in the deal process. Maybe you already have some of these. Your superstars probably already do some of them, but you might need to codify them for the whole team. The key is to constantly qualify and requalify deals out, not in. In addition to the standard attributes that we're taught to consider, the prospect's ability to buy, now you need to also measure their ability to decide in parallel. The bottom line is that many companies see 40% of deals end in no decision. Of those, it turns out maybe 70% are lost to indecision. So only about 30% to the status quo, and that's of the 40% that are lost to no decision. And the factors that lead to indecisions, overwhelming information and options, large buying teams, buyer hesitance about making mistakes, all are rapidly increasing. In other words, buyers are even more worried about messing up than they are about missing out. Yet our sales emphasis is on the latter, which tends to cause us to shoot ourselves in the foot. That means that your team needs to understand indecision and to train in key methods of recognizing it, measuring it, and overcoming it. And they also need to be praised for quickly walking away from unwinnable deals. I'd recommend that you read The Jolt Effect as you do your annual planning and consider what latent impact indecision has had on your sales and how you can arm your team to succeed as the problem grows. I'm Ed Marsh. If you found value in this episode of Signals from the OP, check out the full playlist and maybe even like it, share it, and subscribe either to my YouTube channel, edmarshspeaks.tv, or at the related blog, signalsfromtheop.com.